really nice weather today. I actually still don't know what's going on with that Google Fit tracking. It seems like it's tracking the distances but not the actual step. Makes me wonder if it is due to that daylight savings for whatever reason. So I guess I'll have to use the other tracker as well, although I've had it running in the background all this time as well at the same time. And what was going on today? This was interesting. A new drone or something like that from DJI? Is this because of that FAA announcement? Now they have the new drone that'll satisfy potentially all the future regulations, maybe? But you can see here there was another FCC, I guess, registration. And it says here, it's the Air 2S. Air 2S, what's that about, huh? There didn't seem to be much details on it, unfortunately. It just says here, purchase on Amazon DJI Air 2S. Application DJI Air 2S, equipment class DTS digital transmission system. And they show you the label, what it looks like. And again, not much information except for the fact that it says powered by battery, 3500 milliamps. And again, DJI Air 2S. What does the S stand for? Special edition maybe? They've actually been releasing a lot of their smaller drones pretty quickly, huh? Just with the Mini, they released another one within almost like what? A little over a year or so, and now this one, same thing. It's been almost a year. Maybe that's their new business focus too, in terms of drones, because they release things like the FPV drones and all that, which you could say it's smaller, and now this one pretty quickly. So maybe they're completely ignoring things like a Phantom or something like that, which I know some people have been waiting forever for a new Phantom drone. It could be because of all the regulations and stuff too. Essentially people wanting to bypass everything by flying smaller drones, although technically the Air 2 wouldn't really qualify. But then reading this, I was like, what is this? An actual charge for drone quote spying, I guess you could say? It says here, French drone tourist in Iran, Benjamin Briere, facing spy charges. A French tourist detained in Iran 10 months ago is facing 2 charges of spying and propaganda against the system, according to his lawyer. An interesting way of saying it. And apparently it's because he flew his drone, I guess, near the border and all that. It says it comes at a time of rising tensions between Iran and European countries and the US over Iran's nuclear capacity. Mr. Briere is being held in a prison in the city of Mashhad and is in good health. Mr. Dengen said, adding that his spying charges are because of taking pictures in forbidden areas. I guess a way to potentially think about it is they would claim he's flying like in a no-fly zone for whatever reason, took pictures there, and they're saying, oh, you did that for spying reasons and all that, so now we're gonna punish you. And it says here, my colleagues and I believe that these charges are false and baseless, but we have to wait for the judge to conduct a full investigation in the next few days and announce his verdict. Last month, France's foreign ministry confirmed a French citizen was being held in Iran and that it was monitoring the situation. It has not commented on the charges. So I guess the question here is what the guy did really that bad, so to speak? Or is this all just political and they're using the drone as an excuse or a technicality to say, hey, it technically is against our law for you to, I don't know, take a picture or whatever with your drone here. So because of that, we're gonna hold you here in prison and we're gonna tell the whole world about it. I guess that's one of the biggest concerns usually for regulations or whatever when it comes to drones that don't actually deal with safety, as opposed to just restricting people for whatever reason. Because like here, I mean, you could argue there's nothing unsafe about it. It seems like it's being used more as a technicality to control people, I guess you could say. And then I saw this in so many feeds. What's this about? It says, cancel culture or accountability. Teen Vogue's editor-in-chief issues apologies for racist old tweets. So as the story goes, apparently the person was hired, I guess, to be an editor, and there was a lot of, I guess, pushback over it because of what she said in the past, calling her racist and all that, specifically towards Asian. And I was trying to see, well, what exactly was this about? And it was way back, it says, here in 2011, according to this. She wrote tweets here, for example, saying, outdone by Asian, hashtag what's new. Now Googling how not to wake up with swollen Asian eyes. Give me 2 out of 10 on my chem problem. Cross out all my work and don't explain that I did wrong. Thanks, a lot of stupid Asians. TA, you're great. And another one replying to someone saying, she was like an old Asian woman. LOL, LOL. Well, that's really bad to put out that out in the public and all that. And as you would expect, the person released an apology of sort, and it says here what she wrote, this has been one of the hardest weeks of my life, in large part because of the intense pain I know my words and my announcement have caused so many of you. As I've been having a number of conversations internally with the staff and others outside of Condé Nast, I've also been watching, reading, and listening to so many of your concerns that you've raised. I've apologized for my past racist and homophobic tweets and will reiterate that there's no excuse for perpetuating those awful stereotypes in any way. I am so sorry to have used such hurtful and inexcusable language. At any point in my life, it's totally unacceptable. I've dedicated my career to giving a voice to the voiceless, and the last thing I'd ever want is to make anyone, but especially our Asian brothers and sisters in particular, feel more invisible. And I know that is a unique source of pain in all of this too, that historically the AAPI community has been left out or ignored in critical conversations around race, racism, justice, and equality. I'm determined to play a part in changing that. So there lies the division. Do you believe the person's apology? Do you think it's sincere? Some people say they think it is. A lot of people say they don't believe it. And at the same time, since it was a long time ago, should you just, I guess, push it under the rug? Or I guess, like according to these articles and stuff, should you, quote, cancel the person? For situations like this, and just based on what I see anyways, with all those screenshots and all that, I don't know, it's kind of hard to say whether or not the person's genuinely racist or whatever, but what I would personally see in all this is they did this back then, in my opinion, as a way to get ahead, because maybe it was socially acceptable to, I guess, make comments like that about people of a certain race, because I guess it's almost like a high school playground or elementary school. If you see everybody or whatever picking on this certain person, then if you don't do it too, man, you're gonna get exiled from your group or whatever. So I would see it kind of probably the same way. So in that sense, I would say, well, I question the person's character and integrity because they're willing to do this to a group of people who are, I guess you could say, vulnerable or whatever in order to get ahead. That's what I see anyways personally, aside from like any racism issues or anything like that. So in that sense, I don't really know if the person changed, which is the thing I would be debating about in my mind, because many times in these cases, I would say the apology comes across more as it's just not profitable for you anymore, I guess you could say, modern day, for you to attack people of a certain group in the way that you have, because if you admit to it, then it's career suicide, correct? I mean, that goes for anything else in life. It doesn't matter what it is. I mean, some people even, you guys mentioned saying, oh, you start to see the correlation in terms of like prejudice. For example, you see how it's not just based on people's race or whatever, it could be based on what people do for a living, their hobbies, like you see kind of the correlation and the similarities. It makes me think of just anything else in life. I'll just use, for example, let's just say the drones, for example. And that's why I'm usually more aware when I see people attacking groups of people, stereotyping them, playing on the ignorance of the general public. So you could say if they do it now today, they constantly, as I say, they attack people saying, oh yeah, these people, they're dangerous or whatever. In a similar fashion, let's just say they're racist in the same mentality, saying these people need to be whatever, regulated and all that. They're the dangerous ones, not us. To me, it's the same thing in terms of putting everyone in a certain bucket in that way. So let's just say they profit from that or whatever just to get ahead in life. And then 2 years down the road or whatever, they come back and say, okay, I was completely wrong and all that. Like to me, I would say, yeah, right. Look at how much time you had to fix that, I guess you could say, attitude and actually support, I guess you could say, like those groups of people, and you didn't. So to that, I would say it seems completely disingenuous in that sense. Because if you think about it, if she did that back then, in terms of saying, hey, it's wrong to do this and that against those groups of people, that actually shows more character in terms of wanting to give, I guess you could say, groups of people a voice because you're going against the majority. But obviously she didn't do that. And I think that's kind of important to think about too, just like anything else. That's why even for things like the drones and stuff, when I see those people that say, oh, I don't care about other people's rights or whatever, as long as I can do what I do, as long as I can make money out of it, who cares about them? I think it's important actually to keep track of who those people are, because it'll be like this in the future too. One thing interesting I personally notice is if the person doesn't genuinely care, let's just say, I don't know, about other people and all that, it's really hard to stay consistent unless you generally are like that. That's why when it comes to debating people, for example, like I use the example of driving cars or whatever, because people keep saying that about drone license and all that. When you bring it down to the facts, it's run nothing like that, and people actually can't answer it, because when you take their rights away of something that they use every single day, they have nothing to say afterwards. So like there, if you actually genuinely cared about people's rights and all that, it's really hard to stay consistent unless you genuinely do believe in, let's just say, equal rights. And I guess the interesting thought, just in terms of benefit, a lot of people will say many times, hey, if those groups of people or whatever are being discriminated against or whatever, then why don't they speak up? Well, the bottom line is because they don't want to lose, I guess, money and opportunities. Because if they go against, I guess you could say, what the social norm is currently, like, hey, it's okay to stereotype these people or whatever, do you think they want to jeopardize that? So a lot of people, they'll just keep that mentality of, oh, just be quiet and do whatever it is, that job that you do. And who cares about, I guess, your rights at that point? Let someone else do it. That's usually how it is, unfortunately. That's why I said, like, in that case, it takes a lot more guts to come out against, I guess you could say, the mass majority mindset. Like, even if you know what's wrong, it takes a lot more effort and guts to actually stand up to stuff like that. Alright, see you guys later.